So what I've got here is I've got a program, and it's one of the ones that we did in the previous weeks, and it's got errors in it. So if I try and bring it up, it's called PHP if errors. If I try and bring that up, we get this. One of the problems with building programs in PHP in the kind of native environment is we don't get any kind of help messages when the program's got errors in it, which is really difficult. So what I want to do is I just want to show you 3 things that can help you when you're writing your programs. Now, the first one I'm going to show you is a really sort of clunky way of trying to work out why it isn't working. But I do it all the time. It's a sort of fairly standard technique. So we've got this program here, and this is one that we've got, and it doesn't really matter too much about what it's actually doing. It's a bunch of variables and a bunch of if statements, and what we're doing is we're trying to print them out. Now, we know that there are errors in here, but we just don't know where they are. So one of the things we can do is we can use a combination of comments and prints. So I've got a whole bunch of PHP statements here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment out loads of it. And we can use // here. And I'm using Notepad++. And what that does is that turns it green if it's a comment. So I can just comment out like that the code, save it, and now if I click refresh, so now the program is working. So what that's telling me is that there's obviously an error in this bit down here. Okay, I can sort of go, okay, I've commented all that out, so that bit's not running anymore. But now, the moment I've taken this out, I know that there's an error in this bit here. So what I can now do is I can uncomment this first line, and I can save it, and I can run it again. And now suddenly it's not working. So I know that there's an error somewhere here. There's an error somewhere here. There's an error in these 2 lines, which by uncommenting that one line, I can sort of narrow down the field of where the errors are. Now, if I have a look at this line here, this is something that's always worthwhile having a look at. The first thing you should always do is always have a look at the end of the previous line. So if you have a look at the end of line 12, you can see that there's something missing. Now, what PHP will do is PHP would go, oh, there's an error at line 15. So if you ever see that there's an error or an issue at a particular line, always have a look at the end of the previous line as well. So I know there's an error there, so I can put a semicolon in, and I can save it, and I can click refresh. I mean, there's still an error. So again, so I think that line's okay now, line 12. So let's have a look at line 15. So I just parse my way along here, and I can see there's an error here. I've missed a dot out. So the way that this works is that this is a string, and then we have the string concatenation thing. What we do after that is at this point, we have the variable, and then we have string concatenation again. So save it, and I run it. And it's working up to that point. So let's move on to the next bit of the code. You know, I can go down here. So here's a bit of an if statement. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to uncomment this bit of the if statement. And let's save it, and let's run it and see what happens. And it looks okay. So we know that there are no problems up to that point. So now I can uncomment some more of it. And maybe what I'll do here is uncomment that. Now, to make this if bit here, what I could do is I could just put a semicolon in here, a temporary semicolon, just to see what that does. save it, click refresh, and now I've got errors. So let's go back and have a look. So I've got, and remember the advantage of using a proper editor is that you can see where the braces and the brackets match up. So if I highlight that one, I can see that that bracket there matches that bracket there. If I tap on here, I can see that special bracket, that brace there, matches that brace there. So here we go. That one goes there, that one goes there, and now I've got a problem. There's no corresponding brace for this closing brace. I've dropped one here, so I can put one in. I can save, click refresh, and it's working up to there. Now I can just keep going. So I know all this code is working up to this point, so now I can take that out, take that out, take that out, and let's run it again, save it, run it again. And it says it's running, and it says take an umbrella. Now, what we've done is a way of finding common syntax errors. Part of the problem sometimes is the program, even though it's got no syntax errors, so this is actually running this program. If I click refresh, you can see it's actually running, but is it actually doing what we want it to do? So let's actually have a look and see what it's actually supposed to do. The weather is unknown. And so when we get into this if statement, what should happen is we should go through here and it says, is the weather rain? No, it's not. Is the weather sunny? No, it's not. So it should actually say the weather is not known at the moment, but that's not what we're getting. We're getting take an umbrella. So sometimes the errors that you find in your program won't come through from a syntax check. It's a kind of a logic problem that you have. So let's go back and let's have a look at the if statement. We've got weather equals unknown. I don't know if you've actually spotted what the problem is. There's a problem on line 17. Just have a quick look at line 17, see if you can spot it. Now the clue is have a look at line 21 and have a look at line 17. The problem is here. Now, if I hadn't already spotted that, another way to actually solve this would be I could put dummy print statements in just to see what was actually going on. So for example, if I go print weather at that point, and let's save it and let's run it again. So this idea, what you can do is you can just sort of scatter print statements occasionally just to print some values out so you can actually get a feel for what's actually happening inside your program. Now you can see here it says the weather is unknown. And when we get down to here, suddenly we get, if we print the weather, we get rain. So there's something going on in these lines, and the issue is here. By using this print statement, I can see that the value of weather has actually changed. So I'll go back to line 17 and I can see what the problem is. Instead of having equals equals, now equals equals, if you remember, is a test for equality. That means, is something equal to something else? So what we actually want to say is the weather equal to rain? Is it raining? But what we've actually done is we've actually set the value to rain. And that's what weather equals does. It actually takes that variable and gives it a value. So what we actually want is we want that instead. So if I save that, click refresh, now it goes, the forecast for tomorrow is likely to be unknown, and it prints the weather out and it works correctly. So now what I can do is I can take out that print statement. So it's a sort of clunky way of debugging, but it will get you there. What you do is comment out the code, comment loads of it out, and then gradually uncomment it one line at a time, running the program over and over again, and seeing whether it runs and whether it doesn't run. And what that should do is that should give you a clue as to where the simple syntax errors are. If you're trying to track down something more complicated, then what you can do is you can insert sort of dummy print statements into the code. So for example, here, obviously the variable is weather. So what I could do is at various points, I could just put little print statements in and see what the value of weather was at those different points, those different stages, to see what was actually going on.